I had one kid, a Nepo baby, who I was asked to take a meeting with when I was at the White House.
Oh my God, juicy goss.
And he's like, "Hi, Alyssa." Now, first of all, it's Ms. Mastromonaco to you, you little bitch. I didn't tell you could call me Alyssa. He sits down and he's like, "I think you need my skill set." And I was so amused. I was like, "What's your skill set?" And he basically told me that he could connect me to all these other rich donors. And he was saying things and I was like, up. "Do you know that everything you just said to me is illegal?" And he was like, "What?"
Alyssa, quick question for you. Do you know who my father is? Do you know who my father is?
Do I know who your father is?
I have been waiting in line to get in this club with the regular people, and I think you'd be a little embarrassed if you knew who my father was.
Isn't he Mr. Ryan?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yes. And he was a social worker, so he cannot get me into any clubs whatsoever. Maybe he could write me a recommendation for the anthropology department at the University of Wisconsin-Superior, because he did very well when he was an undergrad in the 1970s.
I would take advantage of that to its very fullest.
I know. I mean, in a way, I am a Nepo baby, but I try not to kind of flag it. I work just as hard as everybody else. So speaking of fathers, she is a regular panelist on Hysteria. You know her and love her. She's a comedian, writer, director, and actor who can be seen on Hulu's How I Met Your Father. Tran, welcome to Hysteria.
Hello. It's so good to see you all. It's been a while.
You've been working. You've been a working actor.
I've been a working gal. It's been real, but I've missed you all so much.
You too. What? Okay, I asked Alyssa this at the top of the show, so I'm going to ask you this now. What is one thing that's in for 2023 and one thing that's out for 2023?
Okay, in for 2023 is wholesome content. I'm loving all the earnestness that's coming out of everyone's pages. And out for me is big surprises. I just experienced one in my family and it was very stressful. So I think we need to all be on the same page when it comes to event planning and announcements. I can't do surprises anymore. I need to be fully informed of everything.
You need to be sent a party synopsis before the party.
I do.
So that there aren't any jump scares.
I need the party minutes before I attend.
Okay, sure. I think that's totally fair. Rounding out our panel today, she's a New York Times bestselling author and possibly an actual genius. You can pre-order her forthcoming book, Immortality, A Love Story, now. Dana Schwartz, welcome to Hysteria.
Thank you for having me. It's also, Tien, I feel like it's been so long. This is
I
such
know,
a delight.
it's so good to see you.
Oh,
That's how I feel. This is like such a delightful reunion.
Oh, I wish we could all be in the same room, but alas, I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and everyone else is scattered to the four winds. But we'll all get together sometime soon, so we're physically in the same place. Dana, in that spirit, what's something that's in and something that's out for 2023?
In, dinner parties.
Okay.
Ooh, nice.
Out, like Instagram pic dumps.
Oh,
I think we're going to go back, I hope, to like a low effort social media where you can just do like one picture, like old school Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because you only want to move your thumb in the up and down direction. Having to do the other
Yes, I agree. Too much.
And I think the dump was originally designed to seem casual, but now it's crossed that point where people are like curating their dumps in a non-casual way. And so that's why I think they're out.
I think we need a new word besides dump. I don't like, it just means, I don't know. We need a new word.
I love a photo run.
Yeah, you can keep it if we get a new word.
Yeah. A barrage. It sounds fancy.
A slurp.
A slurp. Oh God.
Okay. Buffet, huh? Photo buffet.
Photo buffet.
Ooh,
I like that.
right.
That works for me. Or tapas. Photo tapas. Just a little bite of several little things.
Just a little
Instagram
snack.
small plates.
Yeah.
Little
yeah.
nosh.
Exactly. A little nosh. Okay. I'm really excited to talk about this topic this week because there was an article that came out at the end of December 2022. And the second it came out, I was like, first of all, Vulture really went for it. They went hard. The article goes so hard. I immediately pictured that GIF from, I believe, Waiting to Exhale, where an actress is walking away from a car that she has just lit on fire and snapping into the sky. Yeah. Okay. So Vulture published an article on Nepo babies, aka people who work in arts and entertainment, who come from well-connected families or are themselves the children of famous people. So this is a topic that had been sort of bubbling up all year in 2022. I guess the first time a lot of us saw it was in that tweet where that woman learned about Judd Apatow through Maude Apatow's acting, which I thought was very funny. But everything kind of felt like it came to a head with that piece. And since then, the topic of the Nepo baby has been pretty dominant in the way we talk about celebrities, at least until there's some like giant celebrity story that eclipses it. I'm going to just read an excerpt in case you haven't read this piece. We'll link it in show notes, but it's a delight. It is a fiery, spicy delight. Okay, here's an excerpt from the piece. Better to imagine Nepo babies on a spectrum. At the top are the classic Nepo babies, inheritors of famous names and famous features: Dakota Johnson, Maya Hawke, Jack Quaid. The next tier down are people who got a leg up from family connections, even if they were not famous per se. These include figures like Lena Dunham, whose artist parents supplied the necessary cultural capital, as well as industry babies like Billie Eilish, daughter of a voice actress, and Kristen Stewart, whose mother was the script supervisor on the Flintstones' Viva Rock Vegas. That's a little bit of a stretch.
That's a stretch.
That's such a stretch.
The Hadid sisters
You leave Kristen Stewart out of this.
She's got that Viva Rock Vegas connection. The Hadid sisters are a tricky case, as with that other famous Palestinian, Jesus Christ. The benefits of the filial relationship clearly flowed both ways. And we can probably draw a line when it comes to figures like Paris Hilton, for whom the term rich people is already sufficient. So, Dana, do you have anything to add to that definition of the Nepo baby?
Okay, here's my wild take. I actually don't mind entertainment Nepo babies.
Okay.
I think privilege exists in every industry and sphere. Mm-hmm. And like that is an unfortunate reality that I think we need to contend with as a country. And I think we are sort of using Nepo babies as this convenient scapegoat to like get out our frustrations about that system in a way that's like not actually the place where it needs to go. Because movies, entertainment is so visible. Like Billie Eilish isn't an international pop star because her mom was a voice actor. Like you also have to have the goods, and like they're not going to make you the lead of a multi-million-dollar movie as a favor to your parents. It's like they also are good looking because their parents are good looking. I think the real Nepo babies that like unfortunately are less fun to talk about are like the hedge fund managers who are multimillionaires because their dads invest with them, and like the do nothing VPs of companies who just make, 6-7 figures a year doing nothing, where it's like actually like entertainment Nepo babies have the same, it's like, yes, of course privilege exists and we like to talk about it, but it's like they at least have to do the thing, where there are like actual systemic problem Nepo babies who will just never know because they're not famous.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Tien, you work in Hollyweird, as we call it on this show. For people who aren't in the industry, how common are Nepo babies in things like production, development, like studio execs, et cetera? Like, what have you observed?
I mean, what I've noticed that it is fairly common, and Dana, I like kind of agree with you. I am somewhat frustrated by entertainment Nepo babies because it is all about connections. It is all about, and of course there is privilege across like so many industries. I'm just speaking from my experience of like being a part of the Hollyweird, but it is frustrating to see like the level of like, it's who you know. Getting that foot in the door is so important. And like if your dad is or mom is someone who's very famous and you're already getting that leg up, like you've already skipped so many people that you're not as good as, is what I think. Like I think there's like a spectrum of being like they're fine enough and they're famous, that allows them to get through. So I find it frustrating. I also find it frustrating in that like the thing about Nepo babies or anyone with like parents with a ton of money is that like getting into creative industries is so hard, and it takes like not making a lot of money or to like doing multiple things. And I feel like the benefit of being a Nepo baby is like you could have your rent paid. I know stories of like comedians where their parents have paid for rent for them in New York or LA. And I get that. You should absolutely take advantage of that opportunity from your parents. But it does give you a total leg up that you don't have to worry about living check to check as you're trying to write jokes about relationships. Like it adds a different level of stress in getting into the industry.
Right.
I totally agree with you. I think like the industry becoming a creative like necessitates financial privilege, because you can't work creatively if you're also working 10 hours a day you just can't, like, and there's so many unpaid internships. I think where I sort of take issue with like the Nepo baby discussion is when like I was like looking at like the Vulture thing, and it was like Timothée Chalamet, nephew to like the script supervisor of Leprechauns 2. And you're like, that's just like, he just grew up in New York. Like at a certain point, like Nepo babies exist, but I think that the term Nepo baby has become anyone who grew up in LA and who had any family person. And so I think we need to focus the conversation more to like privilege and financial privilege. And also, I think in the industry, there are so many Nepo babies that you never hear of because they're like producers or agents or like, sort of behind the scenes.
I partly agree with the point you're making, Dana, about people just kind of being in the industry. And it's like, if you're I don't know, Coco is about a Nepo baby. It's about a family of shoemakers. You know what I mean? Like, your parents do something. It sort of becomes a family business. You become aware of the lay of the land. You understand how the industry works in a way that somebody coming in from outside might not understand. And so it gives you a leg up in terms of like meetings that you get and people that are willing to even like read your script or see you for an audition. But I think it also gives you a leg up because you're maybe a little bit more mentally prepared for what fame is. And I wanted to bring up Britney Spears as an example of somebody who was not mentally prepared for what fame is. And I'm not saying that everybody that doesn't come from a rich family or a connected family is going to have such a sad descent as Britney Spears did. But I think it's a good example of a person who was sort of plucked from obscurity to be picked for the Mickey Mouse Club, rocket shipped to fame that probably she was not prepared for. Nobody in her family was really prepared for, and was surrounded by people who just wanted to use her like a giant cash machine and didn't necessarily have the wherewithal to, first of all, like the ability to withstand the pressure of fame, and the wherewithal to protect herself from people who would try to take advantage of her. So I think that's like a good example of how, like, growing up or having some kind of savvy or familiarity with how the industry works without having a baptism by fire can actually be kind of good. Alyssa, so a lot of people have pointed out that Nepo babies exist in other industries as well. So can you talk a little bit about the way that Nepo babies are able to be part of the
thrive in politics?
Okay.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. Come on. It's like, the one thing is, and it's the same, like the one thing I was thinking that makes it so hard in Hollywood is getting an agent, right? You can't do anything if you don't have an agent. And Nepo babies, if nothing else, can get agents, right? And they can get good agents, and it helps them. In DC or in politics in general, it's like the same thing. It's like, look at all the people who, who's my biggest, and I'm spacing on his first name. It's the redheaded Kennedy who ran for Senate. Was it Patrick? What was his name?
That sounds right. That sounds like the name of a Kennedy.
A redheaded Kennedy named Patrick.
The thing, right? Like, he was a congressman. He was so young. It's like, can't you just be? This was my Nepo issue. Joe Kennedy.
No, Joe Kennedy is the one from Louisiana that looks like a melting candle, and I
can
say that because
everyone just pause. Joe Kennedy. Hold on. Patrick. I think it's Patrick. But let's double check. Patrick.
No, Joe Kennedy is a senator. I love this. I love that we're like moms.
Oh no, but it's not Patrick either. Who's the fucking Kennedy that lost to Ed Markey? Oh my God, you guys. I was not.
There's another one.
There's multiple redheaded
Hold
Kennedys?
on, Kennedy.
You know who the real
Markey.
Kennedy
Joe
Nepo
Kennedy
baby is?
Joe
Third.
Kennedy the third. Okay, thank
Another
you.
Other
Joe.
Joe Kennedy. People named Kennedy need to stop naming their children Joe.
But it was like, dear Joe Kennedy the third, Lil Joe, you were a congressman, and you were like, you know what? This is the thing about the political Nepo babies. They don't think they have to pay any dues. It's like, you're a congressman, and you're still kind of a baby, but you're like, I'm going to take on Ed Mackey, and why would you? And you know what? He lost, and it was a good lesson, and I think people should do that because like experience does matter, and Ed Mackey is a great guy. But like in politics, if you're a child of someone who was in politics, you can get the internships. Like you guys said, you usually don't have to worry about doing the internship for free because you're fine. You can get political donors because they're your parents' friends or the children of their donors or the donors themselves. And like I had one kid, a Nepo baby, who I was asked to take a meeting with when I was at the White House. He wanted to work at the White House.
Oh my God, juicy goss.
Oh,
love it.
He comes in and sits down at my across from me, and he's like, "Hi, Alyssa." Now, first of all, it's Ms. Mastromonaco to you, you little bitch. I didn't tell you could call me Alyssa. And unless you say you can't pronounce my last name, but then you still shouldn't be here because you should just have Googled my name on YouTube. But he sits down and he's like, I think you need my skill set. And I was so amused. I was like, what's your skill set? And he basically told me that he could connect me to all these other rich donors. And he was saying things, and I was like, up. Do you know that everything you just said to me is illegal? And he was like, what? I was like, everything you just said to me is illegal. So thank you so much and goodbye. And his dad called me very smartly to apologize. And I'm like, that doesn't matter. Your son has terrible judgment, so he's not getting a job here. But like the hubris, that's the thing I think with the political Nepo babies. It's the hubris.
The hubris.
It's the I'm going to come in. And I think that there is something slight like that's a little bit maybe of a differentiator between that and the Hollywood Nepo babies, because I feel like the Hollywood Nepo babies can't have that much. I mean, like they can have their hubris on the inside, but I feel like they can't have it on the outside because it's easier to disqualify them for not having talent in a way, I guess.
That's it. It's like talent. I agree also with Tien, where it's like people get a leg up over more talented people, but it's like in other industries you can have no talent. You can just be awful. At least Nepo babies in Hollywood are usually like good looking because of their parents' genes. Which
like they will eventually get sort of like one of the funny things in that Vulture article was the ding on Sam Waterson's daughter, where it said she was smartly cast out of whatever. Like you can be famous. I feel like the Nepo gets you the access, but doesn't take you all the way.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in other industries, I think it can take you all the way.
Mm-hmm.
See, my favorite, since we're talking about talent, my favorite type of Nepo baby is the sports Nepo baby, because I'm rooting for the sports Nepo baby.
I agree.
There is no other Nepo baby industry that I'm actively rooting for. Like, I'm rooting for Bronny James and the other one that I can never remember the name of.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes is a bit of a Nepo baby, but he just sort of also he just got really good genes.
And like, I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for those Nepo babies because I'm like, you do have the access with your like famous sports father, and I think there is so much pressure to being the child of someone who's the greatest of all time, and so you can't hide from whether or not you can like dunk on someone or not. So
yeah,
I always will root for a Nepo sports baby.
I actually think LeBron James's son is so funny. My husband is a big sports guy, and we were literally talking about it this morning, bringing up Nepo babies. And he's like, LeBron James just really wants to play with his son.
Yeah.
And so he's strong-arming the system and trying to like sort of force his team to draft his son. So it's like his son isn't even a Nepo baby. He's like a vanity baby.
Yeah.
LeBron James is just using his clout because he wants to play with his son. Which
And
is
you know
sweet
what?
in a way.
I want that. I don't care. That one,
I feel
LeBron
the
move
same-
mountains for that.
I feel the same way about Tiger Woods and his son, because when they played together, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen, because the son was basically like, Dad used to be good.
I think part of the Nepo baby thing, like, so now we're seeing a lot of people being asked whether or not they're a Nepo baby in interviews, which is to the 2022-2023 discourse, what asking starlets if they were feminists was to the 2011, 2012 discourse. Just an unfair question. And look, I shouldn't be giving Nepo babies advice because they've got tons of free advice around them all the time and have since they were born. But if you were a Nepo baby, if there's any way that your parentage could be construed as like a Nepo baby type situation, and you could ask that question in an interview, you say, I don't think that's a very fair question. This feels like a trap, and then laugh and then move on. Or this question feels like a trap. Whatever. You can just move on. You don't need to defend yourself and how hard you worked. I think Jamie Lee Curtis had a really good example. She was like, of course I got a leg up because I'm, Tony Curtis's daughter.
And Janet Leigh, I mean, it's like because she was a scream queen. They thought it was like fun to cast another scream queen.
Right. But then she actually produced. She was great in that role. She stepped up to it. And, in a parallel reality, could somebody else whose parents were not Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis have done that role and done a good job? Probably. But, what we have Jamie Lee Curtis in that role, and she did a great job.
We're trying to trick them all into saying, we need them all to say, like, yes, I benefited from privilege. To what end? Like, we all know what they did.
I think that everybody loves a rags to riches story. And it gives you so much capital as a star that if you don't have a like Barbara Stanwyck, her rags to riches story is like sort of the platonic ideal of like a rags to riches story. Somebody who was like an orphan or one of like 12 kids and they grew up poor and then they ran away to Hollywood where they danced on a stage and a producer saw them, like that sort of a thing. And
I love when you pull out the old timey voice.
It's like it's not even a good version. If I talked to somebody who actually had that accent, they'd be like, what on earth are you doing? Like Rosie Perez is a good example of somebody who has this great Hollywood story of like, oh yeah, she was discovered dancing in a club and got in a fight with Spike Lee, Nepo babies, I think, don't get the benefit of like, yeah, I was like hustling between auditions and I was living in my car and then I got this call. Like that's a feel good
J-Lo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know how Alden Ehrenreich got discovered?
No.
So his dad is like an orthodontist. So he's not like a typical Nepo baby, but he grew up in LA and he was did you guys go to like bar and bat mitzvahs where their friends like make little videos for them?
Mm-hmm.
He was in a video for one of his friends at a bar mitzvah and Steven Spielberg saw it and was like, that kid's got it.
Oh my God.
No.
That's literally a dream come true. I shot so many short little sketches with my friends in Erie, Pennsylvania, and hoping that Steven Spielberg would see me.
Yeah, he saw him in a little sketch that he was 12 or 13, did with his friends, and Steven Spielberg was like, get that kid a casting agent.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Are any of us Nepo babies? Like, do any of us have any connection to the industries where we now make our money?
I mean, does it count that my sister was on Ghost Rider?
Yes, absolutely. You should have been in that.
Damn it.
Spread,
okay.
Nepo.
Was Tina on Ghost Rider.
Fine.
My dad is an insurance agent, and my mom is a part-time realtor. But my grandmother's first cousin-in-law wrote the lyrics to Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh,
whoa.
Wow. Dana, I can't believe you waited until this
to drop that bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you became a New York Times bestseller. Okay.
Yeah. I've never met him. Yeah.
That's a cool connection, though.
That's a cool connection.
Not even like Nepo. That's like cool.
Yeah, it's like, and the connection in that family, like, so my grandma's cousin was once nominated for an Oscar in the 80s, which is cool.
Whoa.
She was an actress.
Wait, that's so cool.
Yeah. Her name is Barbara Barry. She was nominated for this movie called Breaking Away.
I love Breaking Away. Breaking Away
my
is
grandma's
an incredible
cousin.
movie. Shut up.
The mom in that is
You
my
guys.
grandma's cousin.
Wow.
Breaking Away is top tier sports movie.
Oh
top
my
tier.
God.
It's a great movie. It's about kids racing bikes. It's great.
It is.
Go
It's
see it.
Dennis Quaid.
Okay,
isn't
I'm
that
watching.
Dennis? It's Dennis
watching.
Quaid. You guys, it is. It's like the precursor to
Schwartz.
It's great.
is
It didn't affect
Hysteria's
my life
own
at all.
Brooklyn Beckham.
But
I know, Dana, you are
You're our
Hysteria's
Brooklyn
Brooklyn
Beckham.
Beckham.
Yeah.
I say this because you take so many pictures of elephants, and I'm like, Dana, stop.
Just
guys,
enough.
so hard to capture, but so beautiful to see.
You guys, I was not aware of Brooklyn Beckham's photography until I saw.
Wait,
this
you guys are
Vulture
going to
article.
die when I show you who Barbara Barry is. You know who you've seen her a million times.
Oh, yeah.
She was in the original cast
I-
of Company
okay.
on Broadway.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
know.
I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
She's alive. She's still kicking. She's in her 90s. She lives in New
Good
York.
for her. Good for her. Good for her. Will your kids be Nepo babies? I mean, Alyssa, you have made the choice to be a gift giver and party
My
aunt.
cats are Nepo babies. Okay, my cats will thrive. If they want internships, they will get them wherever they want. But I've raised lazy for children, so I'm not worried about it.
Tien, if you end up having children at some point, would they be considered Nepo babies? And like, how would you advise them to, or how would you guide them to not be obnoxious versions of
Oh my, good question. Well, I don't think we will have children, so I won't have any real Nepo babies, but in my imaginary Nepo babies, I want to do that kind of thing where like, you know, I said like the fake Nepo baby challenge, which is like you set aside some money that they can't touch until a certain year until they prove themselves, and like they have to like work their way up. I think I would if I would just tell them to like be self-aware enough to like have the humility to admit that they've had like different opportunities and or a leg up in different situations. Like I don't mind the Nepo baby that is self-aware to be like, no, I know I had a leg up and I got in and now I'm trying to work hard and like I want to not that I don't want that to be the thing that defines me, even though it does. Like anytime I read an interview from a Nepo baby that says something like that, I'm like, okay, you get it. So that is what I would tell. I would write the PR statements for my children to say something along those lines.
the ultimate Nepo parent move. Dana, how about you?
I think our kids would like qualify as like mini Nepo babies. Like again, if like script supervisor of Viva Rock Vegas counts, like I think Ian and I combined are like, you know, we're on the Vulture list.
Yeah,
But
you definitely do.
I would not let my children be performers. I don't think children should be actors. I think if AI acting does anything, it should be kids. We shouldn't let kids be in the industry. And I would never pay my kids rent because I think that's messed up. And I would never give them an introduction if they would be in like only if it's genuinely really good where I'm like, oh my God, like, yeah, where I would never let them embarrass me. I don't want them like sending their shitty short stories to my editor. That would be embarrassing. So it's like, I wouldn't give them connections unless they're already really good.
That is a really good one.
Right. Yeah, that's
Like,
really
I'm
good.
not going to be like, oh my God, everything you do is amazing. I'd be like, no, this isn't good enough.
I mean, I think that's important. It's not good enough, but I love you regardless.
I love you, but it's not a
being good-
professional level. That's, you know.
Oh man, I've thought about this. So Juniper is when she was born, we were like, okay, we didn't know if she was going to be a boy or a girl. Beforehand, we were like, okay, no football, no sports that are like, or no sports or activities that are closely associated with like disordered eating and really fucked up body image. So like probably no ballet. And then she was born with like amazing double joints that like, like she's the most, like she has like hypermobility of her joints, which is like a thing that sometimes happens with babies and children. So it's like, okay, well, I guess we have to let her like do some kind of dance. And then we were like, okay, no acting, no child acting. And her first command that she would follow is if you said the word bravo, she would start clapping.
She's a little Broadway baby.
She's a Broadway baby.
You have
not-
Leah Michelle. You've made
She's
a
Broadway
Leah
baby
Michelle.
or Cirque du Soleil. Those are the two options.
I know. I really want her to become like an engineer. I would be so proud of her to break the cycle of being. I mean, like the thing is, I think of being someone who's creative and public is there is a type of like misery and anxiety involved in it that I would like to spare her from. Like I like what I do. I don't think that there's anything else that I could do as well as I do this. But I hope she's better at something else. And so she can do that thing. Because entertainment can be kind of a cold place. And even if you are well connected, it requires so much of you putting yourself out there and having yourself rejected that it's not like you're working at a job where you perform and you turn your work in and then you have a selfhood that feels separate from your work. When you're in like entertainment and creative field, you get really entangled in it. And so I kind of hope that she's spared that. I hope that she doesn't have to. I don't hope that she doesn't become a Nepo baby, because I don't want her to have to go through some of the things that other people and me have like gone through in this. I don't know.
Do you guys
Does that make
think
sense?
dentists are happy?
Dentists?
Yeah, just like normal jobs. Like maybe that's the way to be the most happy.
To be a dentist. Yeah.
Just like be like a dentist or an electrical engineer and just like do your little hobbies on weekends.
Yeah, I think that might be the case. I think it also is really important to do something because you want to do it, not because your parents want you to do it, or because you feel like you have to because your parents did it. And I think that the most functional relationships that people have with their careers are ones where their parents aren't like meddling, where
Totally.
where it feels like it's something that they've chosen for themselves and something that they are doing for themselves. So yeah, I guess that's kind of a long answer. I've thought about it a lot because it seems like my kid likes to perform and I'm like, I'm not letting her.
I can't wait till her first appearance on the pod.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's gonna be a boring podcast host.
She's going to be a little tiny baby podcaster.
Right? I don't understand. Like, she is learning words, and there's some words that she just like insists upon her version of the word. Like, I know you can look at her and say something and she'll look at you and repeat it back. And then like 10 minutes later, she'll point to it and use whatever made up word she has for it. I know this is like off topic, but we taught her agua for water, and she's decided the word for it. She can say agua. She does sometimes, but she prefers to call it apu. Apu.
See, but I like this creative license. See, she's already being creative.
Putting her own touch on things.
She's already putting her own touch on things.
She's a little Lewis Carroll.
Rebranding as we go.
You know what? She's like, potato? I say potato.
Yeah.
She's the one who says tomato. Like in that song, you're like, nobody
Does she?
says tomato. No, but she will be the one who says tomato. Because when you hear that song, you're like, nobody says tomato. That's incorrect.
This is sorry, very quickly back to the Nepo baby thing, because I thought of this. Did you guys see that TikTok where a guy like asked people in fancy cars, like, what do you do for a living to earn that car? And he stopped, that's like his whole TikTok thing. And he stopped Brooklyn Beckham, who was in like a fancy car. And he goes, what did you do to earn that car? What do you do for a living? And Brooklyn Beckham goes, I'm a chef. Because he's like now a little celebrity chef.
He's like,
No, but his celebrity chefing is so
so
it's
bad.
hard to watch. It's so bad.
So hard to watch. He tried to be like a photographer and like that was his thing. And he tried to tried to do so many things. And you have to know he knows he's not good at it.
Yeah.
You want to sit him down and be like, you don't have to be a celebrity anything. You don't have to be a celebrity photographer or a celebrity chef. You could just have a job, Brooklyn.
Or just enjoy yourself
not
on
have a
Selena
job.
Gomez's boat with your wife. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Like, just...
Yeah.
I guess the other sad thing of the Nepo baby is like, is that you do fail in public. Like,
Yeah.
there isn't room for you to kind of quietly do something if you're as famous as someone like Brooklyn Beckham.
Right.
But it's like he never should have published a photography book. He should have just been like
that
in high school
just bought.
that I bought because I find it so funny. I was like, I have to have this. But like he shouldn't, he should have just been like having fun in his high school darkroom, kind of taking bad photos.
Mm-hmm.
Not for us to make fun of.
Right. And the thing is, even if you're a Nepo baby, if your parents are famous enough and you never choose to go into that industry, if you become like a middle school Spanish teacher, you are still going to be like harangued about, that's Kirk Douglas's daughter. She's like a middle school Spanish teacher. I guess she couldn't act, like there's just, there's a cycle of performance and expectation and shame that I don't think I can wrap my head around totally, and so I won't pretend that I can.